and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Sharon. If you've been here before, you know that I'm just trying to get back into the habit of recording and uploading every week. So this week I wanted to talk about what went on during the 8 months that I didn't record. And I have got notes, so if you see me looking down, that's what it is, because it's a long time to try to remember. So the last video that I uploaded was in November, and I'd just started on paclitaxel and I'd just lost my hair and everything else. And when I went for my third chemo, they couldn't find a vein. They had 7 attempts at trying to put an IV in, couldn't do it. They fetched somebody in with an ultrasound to try to see if they could find a vein through ultrasound, because they could only use my right arm, and they still couldn't do it. So they wouldn't do the obviously they couldn't do the chemo, so I had to go home and I had to wait until I had a portacath put in, which took 3 weeks. It never sort of worked properly. They couldn't get blood out of the portacath unless I'd sort of been lying down flat on my back with fluids being pumped into me for half an hour or whatever, but it was better than nothing. It was at least each time I went to have chemo, I did manage to get chemo with the portacath. So, and it was fine, it was absolutely fine. It was, what happens is, I'm not sure if I did tell you that, but quickly, what happens is that they go in with, there's like a circular pad that goes under the skin on your chest, right about there, and then they from that run a line that goes in through your neck and down into your heart, and then they just basically puncture the rubber seal on the portacath to get blood in and out, and that's to get blood out and chemotherapy in. So that's how that worked. And I had 2 lots of chemo with the portacath, and it was fine. But my red cells started to drop, so I had to go and have 2 units of red cells put in, and I had them put in on the Friday. And to be fair, I didn't feel well on the Friday. I felt rough, and I did tell them that I felt rough. I did tell them that, you know, I just didn't feel well. I rang the hospital and they said it's fine, go and get your blood transfusion. So I did. And then on the Saturday I got up and I felt awful, and I got a temperature of 39, so I had to go up to the emergency assessment unit on the cancer unit, and it turns out that I got the flu. So I was basically put into isolation in this room. I was in for 10 days. Whilst I was in that, I got an infection in this scar on my neck where they'd gone in with the portacath. So I was quite ill. Anyway, I came out of that. I had 2 more chemos, and then I had my second chemo on the Tuesday, and on the Wednesday I woke up as if I felt like I got a stitch just under my ribs when I woke up, and it just couldn't get it to go away. And then obviously I'd had chemo the day before, so I went to have a nap. I got up from a nap and it was like I couldn't breathe. I honestly couldn't breathe, and I just said to Pete, get me an ambulance. The pain was horrendous. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 10. I have never ever known pain like I had that day. And it turns out that I had a blood clot on my lung, Found out since I'd actually got one blood clot on each lung, but the main one was on the right hand lung, and the pain I had was awful, absolutely awful, and that had been caused by an infection now in the main portacath. So once I was well enough from the blood clot to have the portacath removed, they had to take that out. And all this went on, and I actually think it was the 20th of December that I finally got out of hospital, and I had to fight for that. It was horrendous, the pain, and I was on oxygen all the time. I just couldn't walk. I was in a really, really bad state. So I got out of hospital on the 20th of December, and I should have had the portacath put back in, a new portacath put in on the 5th of January. So I went up for the appointment, did all the pre-meds, all the anaesthetist came and everything else, and I'm just waiting really to go down to theatre. And the vascular surgeon came and said that he wasn't prepared to do the surgery because he'd looked at a CT scan, and he felt that there was a clot between my heart and my lung that he couldn't get past at this time. He said, but we're making an appointment for next week. I'll sit down with my team on Friday and we'll work it out, and come back on Tuesday and we'll definitely do it. So I went back on the Tuesday. No, I didn't, sorry, I got a phone call on the Friday to say that the vascular surgeon was not prepared to put another port in, because where the clot was, it was too dangerous. He only needed to just dislodge it slightly and I would be dead within 2 minutes, which I found very comforting, knowing that I'm walking around with that time bomb, and if it decides to dislodge, I've got 2 minutes. I mean, I was on blood thinning injections, and I have to have them twice a day, but you know, it was like a ticking time bomb even in the middle of my chest. So it was not nice. Right, what happened then? Yes, I had 4 more chemos after that. We had an argument with, not an argument, a discussion with the with Professor Brunt's registrar, Dr. Underling, whatever he is, Dr. Galani. He was sort of basically saying, well, if we can't get this in, you know, that's it. And I said, I'm not happy with that. I'm not ready to give up. I'm not ready to sit back and just let it, you know, go. The only thing that's stopping me having chemo is the fact that I've got no veins left in my right arm, so surely there's something we can do. And he said, well, yeah, we can use your left. And I'm like, well, why has nobody ever done that before? Because I've always been told you can't use my left arm because I had all of my lymph nodes removed right the way up into my neck. So apparently you're not allowed to use that arm for even blood pressure or anything like that. So he just said, oh no, he says, we have ladies who've had lymph nodes removed from both arms and they have chemo. So okay, so I got another 4 chemos in and managed to finish the course, and then I had a CT scan, and then they discovered that it wasn't doing its job really. I think that's when they discovered that it had actually moved and it was now in my lungs. So they decided to put me onto capecitabine, which is tablets. That was amazing. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I was so well on these tablets. It was like going back 6 months. It was like I was in the summer before all of this went on. I felt back to normal. My hair grew back. It was great. I loved it. And I was on that for a few months. And then I think I did a full course of that. I did the full course, and I had a CT scan. And before we'd even had the official results from the CT scan, the consultant was saying that it's not worked. The tumours in my lungs, not my lungs, sorry, the tumours in my liver was still definitely growing. They hadn't had a written report, but from the blood results and what they themselves could see on the CT scan, it was quite obvious that the liver tumours were still growing. So they decided to change me to eribulin, which is what I'm on now. So I've lost my hair again, lost my eyebrows, just about to lose my eyelashes. The first week's treatment, the treatment is 2 weeks on, 1 week off. The first week's treatment, I had quite a bad reaction. I had a lot of pain in my liver, and I just really wasn't very well at all. But they discovered that the eribulin was actually affecting my white cells, my red cells, my platelets. So they've reduced the amount that I have by 10%. The treatment's fine. It takes 5 minutes, literally. The chemo itself is a 5-minute 55 ml bag. It's stupid how small the amount is that they sort of are actually putting in, and that's been much better. I'm not really having a lot of side effects, I must admit. I'm tired and different things, but I'm not really having a bad time, so I can't complain. But that's now where we are. I'm halfway through my first round of eribulin. It'll go on for 18 weeks. So I'm 9 weeks in. And that's where we are. That's what's happened over the last few months. The cancer now has spread into my liver. It's in my lungs, although it's not actually at the moment growing in my lungs. It's there, but the last CT showed that was stable. Obviously it's still all through my bones, but that looks quite stable. So it's just the liver at the moment that's the problem, that's playing up. But I'm not really getting any effects from it. I mean, it's not like I'm jaundiced, or I haven't sort of lost my appetite, as you can tell. It's just there. Every so often I'll get a little bit of pain, which tends to be like, it's under my ribs on the right side, and then the pain goes into my shoulder. It's almost like having an air bubble somehow in your shoulder, but it's so tender, there's no way I can touch it. I can't bear it to be touched. It's really strange why the pain from my liver is referred. They call it referred pain, and this is where I feel that, and it's like, it's horrible. But other than that, I'm on, I have injections for my white cells. I had 1 bag of red cells the other week. And that's about it, really. So that's where we are. Next week I'm going to hopefully start the series that I want to do, which is taking each treatment that I've had and going into it a little bit more in detail. But I think what I want to do first, as my first sort of video on this, is a general just how to sort of look after yourself, really. You know, just basics, just the basics. So I think we'll look into doing that next week, and then we'll go into each individual cancer, not cancer, sorry, each individual chemo, and we'll sort of take it from there as to how that goes. So thank you very much for spending the time listening to me. If you like what you've heard, well, press the like button. If you're not subscribed, please do. And I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.